Hi friends, strangers, internet. My name is Emily Hanhan. I love colorful makeup and colorful language. Welcome to a new setup for me. Today we are going to be duping the vibes of the Give Me Glow Vintage Rose palette, and we're doing it in an overhead style of shooting. I will preface all of this. If you are seeing this video, just know that this is a work in progress, and I appreciate anyone that is going to follow along. So I have a new overhead filming setup, but it's not perfect, but I wanted to play around with this style of video because I love watching this kind of video and I love building single eyeshadow palettes, so I thought I would dupe this out on camera in this format. The Give Me Glow eyeshadow palette, it is an 8-pan eyeshadow palette that came out at the end of August that has a color story that's a little bit of a green, pink, red, copper situation. I do think that the palette looks gorgeous, but I want to try to recreate it with the single shadows that I have. See if I can create a color story that for me feels a little bit more usable and cohesive within the theme. So what you're seeing on camera are my greens, some of my neutrals. This is a selection of them. These are just some of my favorites. My pinks, again, some of them, not all of them. And my multi-chrome kind of shadows, my special shadows. We also have an empty palette here that will be large enough to hold the color story. And I also have a video coming up that's a chatty get ready with me using the palette. I think I want to start with the pinks and berries, and then we'll move into the green and bring in some accent tones. Some of the shadows that you're seeing on the screen are actually from Give Me Glow, and one that I know I definitely want to include is this shadow that goes by the name of Brittney. So one of the reasons why I wanted to dupe out my own palette is that I felt like the color choices that they came to for that palette were not quite what I would do with a vintage rose feel. The initial image of the kind of pinky tone matte and the bright and shiny pink tone definitely caught my eye, so I'm not straying from that. There was two colors that I was debating between. So this one right here is from JD Glow, and this one is from Give Me Glow. I thought for sure when I bought the Give Me Glow shadow that would go in my vintage rose kind of palette, but this JD Glow shadow, which is a galaxy shadow called Sin, has a beautiful slight green flip to it, and I feel like it was actually lend itself to pairing with greens more than this icy pink. It looks a little peach compared to this color, but it really is fairly pink on the eyes. I don't think I really want anything else in this family. I was looking at adding in like a mid-tone shimmer pink, but I think I'm gonna skip that. I don't think it's really necessary. It doesn't feel like it's adding to that vintage feel. This family over here is where I'm heading to next. So the Give Me Glow palette has a copper shade and a red shade. I really felt drawn to this Menagerie Cosmetics shade because to me it's like copper red flip. So we're gonna add that to the lineup. It's a very flaky formula and definitely needs a glitter glue. I put a lot on the hand so it looks really beautiful, but on the eye, you really need a sticky base for that. For kind of berry tones, I'm drawn to these tones that are almost purple, but they're not purple. So I'm thinking this family here, but truly I know that Lethal Cosmetics is one of my favorite formulas, so I'm pretty much drawn to the Lethal formula. So this shade is Cascade. It's one of their slightly newer shades. I think it was in their summer collection. these two tones together, this like mauve tone and this rose, to me that reads vintage rose in my head. And this is Rebirth from Lethal. It doesn't swatch the most beautifully, but I believe for my collection, yeah, like that one's weak. I'm gonna keep this in the palette. It's a little deeper than this Copper Flip, and it feels like it's a dark rose color. So we have some rosy tones happening. I think I'm going to put this away for now. And my beautiful, wonderful greens. You're going to be looking at bringing in greens that will complement these ready tones. And in my head, that really is bringing us into these olivey tones, which also is a little bit more vintage rose for me than the colors that Give Me Glow picked. Give Me Glow, the matte green is much more of a, might be, I don't think it's quite this color. I don't think it's quite this color, but it does feel like it's a deeper leafy green, whereas I'm really aiming towards this kind of mustardy dirty green. The colors that I was debating between was this one, which again is a Lethal Cosmetics color. This is Recluse, but I also have this color, which is Courtney from Divina. Now this is a gorgeous color and I think it would fit in this palette, but I'm not a huge fan of this formula. So I'm gonna go with my personal favorite, which is Lethal. Their matte formula is just top in my books. Because this is a lighter tone, I think I want to pull in, this is a little bit leaf green, stem green, but it's not quite as true green feeling. It feels more in the olive, muddy, grungy vibes. To me, that feels more vintage because when I think of vintage colors, I don't think of true colors. I don't think of like a true green. I think of colors that have a splash of brown in them, or colors that are muted, where if you were in Instagram and went to saturation and you turn the saturation down. That's what I think of when I think of vintage color palettes. Now for shimmers, there are so many options. And again, you could go a little bit more true green. You could go a little bit grungier in feel. You could go with this color, which I think of this color as like a happy medium between these two. I also have this color. Now, the ones that I just swatched are all JD Glow, and I'm really a huge fan of the JD Glow shadows. In terms of the tones, what I'm really drawn to are the two at the end. This finger right here is a Metallon shadow. So this Metallon shadow, you saw, that was what was on my finger swatched to my arm. And I know these swatches are getting worse and harder to see. These are the other two shadows I swatched. And again, I'm sorry, this is not the best angle. But for me, this reads too gold and this reads too green. Whereas these two read a little bit more olive green and a little bit more olive gold, if that makes any sense. This is JD Glow Martini. That is this color right there. And this is JD Glow, and this is Limelight. It's a Metallon shadow. These Metallon shadows are, again, a flaky formula, but it's like, with this color, it feels like it's like olivey gold leaf that's kind of packed together, where if you pick it up and you're really disruptive, it'll flake out everywhere. But again, that good old sticky base, if you put it on with that, it will shine and just be gorgeous. The only thing I want to add with the greens is I want to bring in an inner corner color. Now, that's not really seen in the original palette, but as you can see, we're kind of veering off course from the original. I knew instantly what inner corner color I want because it's the one I go to all the time. And it is Eye of Newt from Clionadh Cosmetics. So this is one of Clionadh's like duochromes. Their duochrome are an absolutely stunning formula. And it might be hard to see, but it's basically, it's a green that definitely has a yellowy tone to it. So I really like it for inner corner compared to a green that's more blue. This inner corner highlight kind of bridges the gap between a white tone you might go for your inner color and something more green. I think we're good on the green. I think that I'm at a place where I feel like I have a nice balance of options, and what I want to incorporate are a nude tone or two and possibly another kind of magic shade. So let's close this one up and pull out the other two palettes. When I was looking at my neutral palette, I was instantly drawn to Paper Tiger by ColourPop. This is a more yellow tone, and I'm just going to tuck it in here. So without a lot of building up, Paper Tiger is a kind of weak swatch, but it's going to be paired with this color and with this color, and it will really bring in some yellow based kind of neutral tone. And I feel like you might even be able to get away with pairing it with this color to almost create an orangey toned transition between the two. Something I'll have to play with, but I think it's a great addition to this palette. So I was aiming for 12 colors with this palette because I felt like the color story needed a little bit more diversification from 8 tones. I just wanted a slightly larger palette. I'm particularly drawn to the reddy tone ones, but this one, when I was looking in the mirror, has the most warm flip to it, and that's really where I want to go because these can read more purple red, and I'm fine with purple being actually drawn into this palette because I think it would go with these rosy tones, the pinks. I'm good with that, but I didn't want to go totally purple. So this is Magellanic by Davina, and this is one of Davina's Galaxy multi-chromes. I am going to rearrange these to find a nice layout with the different pan sizes, and then be back to wrap everything up. And look at this. Okay. Okay, so those are the 12 shadows all swatched out, and I'm pretty happy with this color story. I think that it is a good mix of shadows. This Davina shadow is much more spectacular over glitter glue. I think it adds some dimensionality to the palette, and I'm very happy to have a palette like this. It's full of some of my favorite matte formulas, it's full of some of my favorite shimmer and metallic formulas, and it's full of some new formulas for me to play with. If you're looking at that Vintage Rose palette and you're thinking about it and you have single eyeshadows to play with, I encourage this exercise because it's fun and it helps you figure out if you're truly tied and in love with the color story or if it's just a packaging and swatch situation. Either way, whether you buy the palette or you don't, I'm not here to judge you. It might still come home with me, who knows? But this is my starting point. If you enjoyed this style of video, feel free to give me a thumbs up. It's good for me to know what my audience likes. If you have not subscribed and you would like to follow along in my colorful shenanigans, I would love to have you join the crew. And if you are subscribed, thank you again. I really appreciate everybody. Thank you for spending a bit of your day with me. I hope to see you again real soon. Bye, friends.